finally time for Gramophone Week. I said when I started doing these vlogs that I would also cover the occasional gramophone record, just to be really modern and down with the kids. Gramophones, you know what they are before record players that we know them. We have an illustration, famous, well, the logo of HMV, his Master's Voice, the label, is famously an illustration of a gramophone there with the big horn speaker and a dog, whose name I've forgotten, listening to it. As you can see, this is a HMV gramophone record. It's by Gracie Fields, actually, our Gracie. You've got to be very careful with these things. 10 inches across, this one, and they are much more delicate than normal records, as you may know. They're pressed on shellac, so made out of crushed beetles. Nice. But yeah, this is what was around until the early 1950s, I think, when plastic became more widely used for 45 RPM singles. Plastic had been in use in the Second World War to produce large, long-playing discs for the forces. You could send plastic discs overseas and play radio shows and stuff for the forces serving overseas. They were a lot less breakable than standard shellac like this. Anyway, but still, like I say, up until the 1950s, generally most records were pressed on shellac. It didn't melt as much as plastic records, so you'll find certainly in places like India, like way into the 1960s, there was still a lot of stuff being pressed on shellac, like Beatles singles, you know, that back in the US or the UK would just be on 7-inch. In India you could still get 10-inch copies of like, you know, mid-period Beatles singles, very sought after. Anyway, so the other year I was in Rottingdean for the day, down the coast, with my dad, and we popped in a charity shop just to kill some time, and there was a bunch of gramophone discs in with all the other sort of tat LPs for sale, and I thought, you know what, I just thought I'm going to rescue these because they're only like 50p a piece. They were still intact, and I thought if I don't rescue them, they're going to fall to bits. So I got a few. Like I say, there's a Gracie Fields one, great Northern English Forces' favourite singer. We have what else here? Actually, I've had this one a while. This is Stomping at the Savoy by the Ink Spots, a classic American vocal record. What do we have here? We have a cat over here. Making Whoopee, Billy May and his orchestra. Oi, the cat is now attacking the records, which is not what you want to happen. Right, thanks, Puss. So I'm going to just lay those out over here where you can't get them. But amongst the 10-inch sort of 30s, 40s ones, also found some earlier, the cat is now attacking me, some earlier gramophone discs. Okay. Now, as you can see, so this one, which is on the Crown label, Swing Time Selection by Harry Pepper and Doris Arnold, made in England. What's on the other side? Swing Time Selection Part 1. Swing Time Selection Part 1 and 2. I think it's a medley of dance band stuff. You see, very small label. So this was like absolutely the what you would put on one of those classic old gramophones with the big horn and crank it up and play. That's 9 inches across. Smaller than that, from the 1920s, which is the one I want. The cat is now biting my arm. Momentary interruption there from the phone going off. What I was going to say was, one size down from the 10-inch and the 9-inch, we have an 8-inch gramophone disc from the 1920s on the Budget Broadcast label, and this is by Ciro's Club Dance Band from London. A Room with a View on one side, and on the other side, Old Man River from the musical Showboat. Now, Showboat made its stage debut in 1927. This record comes from 1928. And yeah, it's by a British dance orchestra who would have performed, you know, around concert halls in the UK around that time. And I'm going to play it because when I got this record home, me and my dad sat down. Surprisingly, my rubbish cheap record player does play 78, so I'm going to put it on in a sec. Yeah, let's put it on now actually. Hang on a minute. Delicately does it. It's already got a lump out the side. Behave, cat. Obviously it sounds great for 96 years old. I mean, it's fun. As my dad, who's in his 80s, pointed out. Now, actually, I mean, Showboat, as you probably know, the most famous version of that song comes from the 1936 film version sung by Paul Robeson. And it is a song, it's a sort of, although it's written for the musical by Oscar Hammerstein, it is a sort of black slave spiritual song contrasting the life of a slave with the ongoing, timeless rolling of the Mississippi River. You know. But yes, as my dad pointed out, that is the whitest version of Old Man River you could possibly want to have. So well done, Ciro's Club Dance Band. At least they've got an early version in. Yeah, other stuff I've seen on the broadcast label, which I've not got, but I've sometimes friends pick stuff up. Musical gramophone records. Comedy records, you know, from the 1920s, 1930s. I think the best example of, like, if you want to get a flavour of musical stuff, is to watch Alfred Hitchcock's 1930s film version of the John Buchan novel The 39 Steps, because obviously that's got a lot of scenes set in the music hall, something that Alfred Hitchcock would have known very well, coming from Leytonstone in London. He went to the music hall a lot as a young man. So yeah, if you want to get a flavour of musical, watch The 39 Steps. And a lot of music hall stuff turns up on gramophone discs like that. So I think it's always, you don't find them much because they tend to fall apart, especially after nearly 100 years, but they're worth picking up, even if they're just a little bit dated and daft. And that's all I've got to say about gramophone discs. But yeah, if you have anything you wish to add about gramophone discs, do jump in the comments or tell me I'm wrong. Or let me know if you pick up any yourself. But yeah, I shall see you soon. I'm going to go and have a remonstrate with the cat now. Okay, bye-bye.